you will not let out from the topic or the area that you choose. So that's the first one. You have to understand which step in the process of you conduct your research or you do your research, okay, you have to think about to develop your framework. So that's number one. Part B, I will explain what is actually framework that we are talking about, why you need to do the framework, why it's so significant to your research. Okay, even though you do your simple research to publish in journal, you still have to do the framework. Is it framework in terms of picture or what? Okay, so part B, I will explain the concept of framework. Okay, part C, this is come to the major point of this uh, knowledge that I will share with you today. Does the framework that you develop, it derive from the literature or it derive from the data when you collect your data? Which is which? Okay, so this is the one actually, once you understand the other two parts, then for you to understand part C will be, I would say that it will be a little bit easier. Okay, and at the end for part D, you have to understand the differences between when you derive the framework from the literature and let's say you derive your framework from the data. Is there any differences or is it similar? Okay, all right, so this will be the content. So we start with the part A. Understand where is the position of developing framework in the flow of research process. Okay, so we do this as informal as possible. If you do have any question, you can interrupt me while I'm presenting the content of the knowledge today. Okay, so just stop me. If you trigger something in your mind, okay, you just said that, okay, stop doctor, I do have a question. I have a problem like this, like that. Okay, feel free to do so. Because sometimes when I keep on talking, when keep presenting the information, sometimes that's what happened during my time, okay. Uh, Sometimes when the speaker say something, okay, it trigger something that relate with your research, okay, you immediately ask. So that should be the way. It's not only I'm the one who do the talking here. So you think that you can absorb, you can understand it well, but always refer whatever that I mentioned here back to your research. Okay, so feel free to stop me. That there shouldn't be any problem. Not necessarily need to wait until the last presentation of mine, then you will ask. But if you want to do that, also there shouldn't be any problem. Okay, interrupt me anyway, no problem. Okay, now this is the flow of research. This is, I think you familiar with this. This is a very common, okay, very common flow of the process. You heard this often, which is find the topic, find the research problem, find the research objective. Okay, but the one that I want you to look here, I give you the flow. You look at the red color. This is the normal process, which is after you find the topic, find the research problem, find the literature, okay, find the theory, and then find the... So this is the forward flow, okay? But I put this, how should I say, the black arrow, which is, if you look carefully, all the black arrow, okay, it comes from which step? Literature review. This is, you have to understand the first concept before you can clearly develop your framework. Okay, you are not setting up, you are not trying to develop your framework if you did not read a lot of literature. Okay, so anything that goes to topic, goes to research problem, up to goes to your conclusion, it must everything come from literature. So it start up with the step number 5, literature review. That means you have to start up with the reading part. Okay, that's what you have to understand. Now, in other words, indirectly, so developing the framework, does it come from the literature? Yes. You cannot develop the theoretical framework, okay, by not having literature review session. You have to. Otherwise, you cannot develop your theoretical framework. Later on, I will mention to you theoretical framework. Sometimes you heard the word conceptual framework. There are so many different terms. Is it similar or different? Later on, I will explain. Okay. Then another process, because our topic is about whether developing theoretical framework is a come from literature or from the data. I circle the data. Why I circle it also come from the data? Because it relate back to the literature review. See that or not? So in other words, even though you can develop your theoretical framework from data, which is from data driven. When you collect the data, you get the raw data and you develop the framework from there. Okay, when I said that you driven, the data driven from the data collection, okay, because I'm in the qualitative research, but I will explain later on in terms of quantitative also. Okay, so is it come from the developing theoretical framework? Is it come from the literature or come from the data? I answered both. Okay, but from literature, it consider a must. Okay, now that's number one. You have to understand the concept where you can develop your theoretical framework. What you should do first. Okay. Then if you look at this flow of the process, I put the theory outside this yellow box. Okay, and I put the arrow to this yellow box. Okay, so meaning that whatever the process flow from find the topic up to the conclusion, all of this, including the literature review, it must be bound with the theory. Okay, when I said that bound with the theory, that means you need to find the theory that will guide you. Your research. You means your research. So how the theory will guide your research. So in other words, the theory need to guide your literature also. So when you read your literature, you cannot read simply whatever you want to read. Okay, it must be bound with the theory. So in other words, what is a theory? Theory is the idea. If you want to say that you want to do the research on the food, the idea is about the food. Okay, food is very broad area. So what you want to look after the food? You want to look after the food, for example, like different types of food that all the people in this entire world eat. Now you are talking about type of food. Now you generate your idea even narrow. Okay, before this, food, then type of food. That it involves the people who eat the food, who consume the food. You see that or not? So in other words, so when you try to find the topic, up to you find the literature, up to you try to do the analysis of your data that you are collected, everything is about what? Your theory, your idea about the food. But to narrow the scope, I only want to look from the aspect of the types of food. You see that or not? So that's why the theory is to guide whatever the information that you are seeking in this flow of research process. Okay, that's you have to understand first. So that's why when you are trying to develop your theoretical framework, you cannot run away from the literature, from the data that you derive after you collecting the data and you analyze your data, and also the theory. Okay, regardless you are pursuing quantitative as a quantitative researcher or you become a qualitative researcher, it doesn't matter because the flow of research process is a fixed process. Okay, now I put in here, these are, but I focus on qualitative research. But let's say among all the participants, some of you conduct the quantitative research, feel free to ask me. There shouldn't be any problem because the process is still the same. Okay, you still have to develop your conceptual framework and you need to select your theory, and also you have to do the data analysis. Either you conduct through the quantitative or the qualitative research. All right. And before this, I show you one by one, right? So by right, yes, it should be between literature and data. But actually, it also involves the theory. The one that I put in the shaded black color. Okay, so these three elements or steps in the data flow process need to be all the researcher, okay, not only the PhD holder or the PhD students or the master student, but all the researcher. I also become a researcher, okay. As a PhD students also, you become a researcher. So the researcher need to understand this concept. So far so good or not before I proceed to the part B? Any question from the participant? Okay, so far so good, right? Clear. Okay, Alhamdulillah. Now, we go to part B. Okay, now the concept of framework. Okay, now when I'm talking about the concept of framework, sorry, framework in research. Sometimes people say that framework in research framework, theoretical framework, conceptual framework, all these terms, is it bring different meaning or the same meaning, right? Okay, sometimes you just look, people put framework. Okay, if you look carefully, right, the word frame, if I highlight here, the word one is frame. If I separate it, the one is the word frame. The one is the word work. Work is come from where? From your literature. You have to read and then you have to put in the frame. Bila frame ni, when we are talking about frame, right? Okay, what you can see that, I give you one example. Let's say the picture frame. You can see the picture frame if let's say the painter, okay, paint or the drawer draw the picture of flower, for example. Okay, so there's only one type of flower. If rose, the painter only will draw the rose flower. If he or she decided to draw different type of flowers in that frame, so that means he or she will draw different type of flowers, but according to the size of that frame. So when I'm talking about the frame and work, the work comes from you read from the literature, and the frame actually you are trying to what? To set up the boundaries of your research area. That what is a frame is all about. That means, contoh, for example, okay, you, when I mentioned the previous slide, right? I give you the example of food, for example. Okay, so food is a very broad area, but now I narrow it to the types of food. See that or not? Now my frame before this food, so it can be bigger frame. Now I narrow it to the smaller frame, which is only focusing on types of food. And I narrow it a little bit more. I just want to focus types of food that Malaysian people eat. You see that or not? Before this, you have the big frame, which is food. Now you narrow it to the types of food. Then you narrow it to the who you want to focus on regarding types of food, Malaysian people. Now you see that you keep on narrowing your frame. You make it even smaller from bigger. So that is what research area, where you can get the information about the food from literature, where you can get about the types of food from literature, when you can get the food you want to look after only Malaysian people who eat the food is from the literature. Okay, so the moment you keep on narrowing your frame, okay, due to you read from the literature, that what you name framework, because that is only the area that you're going to do the research. That is the word framework. Now, why does it came up with the word theoretical, conceptual? Is it different meaning? Okay, now, why it talk about conceptual? Why it mentioned about theoretical? Is it when we develop the framework, we take it from theory? Or is it when we do the conceptual framework, we take it from the concept? Okay, concept of food. When we are talking about theoretical framework, we are talking about we take the theory from food. So that's why I give you very big question mark and many question mark. Okay, now, so this is, you need to understand the purpose of you develop the framework. The purpose of developing the, I do here conceptual framework. You see that? Conceptual. I didn't use yet the theoretical framework. A conceptual framework is to identify the selection of concept. So when I refer to food, what is the selection concept that I choose? Types of food. Okay, I can choose the concept of device or tools used to eat the food. See that or not? Okay, I can choose the idea or the concept about the food. I want to look from the cultural point of view. So the culture about the food is the concept. Concept about the food, and another concept is the culture of the food or the ingredients of the food, for example. Okay, now it's not only select the concept, but also the relationship between that concept, how it relates. Okay, in the researcher study based on the literature review. So understand, so when you read the literature review, you have the idea what you are looking after. Okay, you have to seek for the concept. Okay, now, in building the conceptual framework, okay, the researcher need to align with the information in the literature review in terms of individual concept or relationship among the concept and relate them with the research question identified earlier. See that or not? I show you back the flow of research. When you try to develop your framework, you seek from your literature the concept, and you have to connect the concept that you try to find, okay, for what purposes? To setting up back your research question. So meaning that your research question actually is related with your framework. See that or not? That is something I get that not directly from the book that I read, but through the experiences. So that's why actually when we are talking about building a conceptual framework, actually, it is you are building your research question. because your research question had been setting up based on the concept that you choose from the literature. That's you have to understand the concept behind why you need to develop your framework. Actually, by developing your framework, you can easily understand the area of your research. Okay, what kind of a concept that you are trying to explore, trying to identify. If you are quantitative researcher, what kind of relationship that you want to look after? Okay, whether it had a significant value or not. All right, so it back to your research question. Okay, now, so at the end of the day, what is the research framework? The system of concept. If you have the concept of types of food, that is a concept, or based on assumption. The concept is already stated in your literature. Sometimes it's based on your assumption. Oh, maybe we have to do the research on the COVID, but we are not so sure the causes of the COVID. People say A, some people say B. You see that or not? Does it fix? Do you get the concept directly from the literature? It may not. Sometimes it start up with your assumption. Okay, and then from there you keep on digging out more information. So that's why by doing this, keep on searching the concept, keep on searching the assumption, all right, based on your assumption, your expectation, your beliefs, okay, and theories that support and inform your research. This is whereby will leads you to another one, which is your research problem. Because when research question relate with a research objective, it will lead back to your research problem. Research problem meaning that all this while we always talk about finding gap, finding gap. Okay, actually is whereby you are trying to develop your framework, you seek the concept. Okay, now when we are talking about framework, the word framework, sometimes you can explain the concept that you are discovered from the literature, could be through graphical, could be through diagram, or could be through story, write up. Okay, or could be it from the aspect of key factors. Okay, or could be from the variables. So it can be the theoretical framework, or at this present, I mentioned conceptual framework. It can be presented in the form, in many different kind of forms. Okay, it can be in terms of picture, it can be in terms of storytelling, it can be in terms of point form, the list of factors, for example, or it can be from the list of variables that you get. So it much relies on later on in the process of your research about your topic. So that's why when the examiner, when the reader, when the expertise read the title of your research, we directly can detect what kind of research that you are conducted. Either it's a qualitative research or quantitative research or action research. Because of what? Because it starts from the way you define the concept of your research. Okay, I'm still talking about the above flow of research. I did not touch yet about the bottom flow of research. Still from literature backward to the research question, research objective, research problem, and topic of your research. And all I hook with the explanation about what? About the theoretical or conceptual framework. You see, I used the word or, I didn't use the word and. Okay, why? Later on saya akan terangkan. Okay, later on I will explain. Okay, now a tentative theory of what you think is happening and why. You see, it used the word tentative theory, tentative idea. Okay, maybe why I said that is a tentative. When you build your framework, when you develop your framework, all right, it's a tentative theory. Why? Because, for example, like this, going back to food consumption, types of food that the Malaysian people take. Why I said that it will become the tentative theory? At the beginning, you are trying to look after type of food that the Malaysian people eat. When you keep on digging out the concept, okay, which is your first idea is about the food. When you're digging out more concept and the relationship among all the concept that you identify or you discovered from reading the literature review, suddenly you found out, oops, the food is something related with diet. You see that or not? If you keep on reading, now you are start to have the tentative idea. Now the tentative idea here means that you start out with food. The concept is about the type of food and it consumed by Malaysian people. Suddenly it's about diet. If you keep on reading the concept, now something related with healthy, about health. So now you already have different idea. Now maybe your idea, the concept of your research will be diverting from types of food. Now it changed to diet. But it still relate with the food. Now that is what we call tentative theory, tentative idea. So that is the reason why developing framework is very important. So towards the end, you see that the evolvement of the from food, now it become expanded to different type of theory, different type of idea. You start up only with food, your idea, but now it become diet, it become the health concern. Maybe if you want to expand even more from the food, now we have all the devices, technology in the medical perspective. So you see, actually, your theory, your first idea here, when you read your literature, you want to develop your framework, you start up only with food. But you keep on reading now because you understand the concept, the concept of the developing the framework from the concept derived from the literature, then you can have more idea from that and it become the tentative theory. So that's why in qualitative research especially, all right, if you conduct it very well, maybe you can come up with, not saying that totally 100% a new theory, but expanded of the existing theory. Kita tak buat something yang novel lah, okay? Macam sort of like the black hole, okay? So we are not up to that extent. But when I said that about theory, the existing theory, we can expand it. If we can make it wider. Okay, so that is the contribution in the PhD that we are looking after. You are not trying to find something new. No. Okay, totally new, 100%. No. You are trying to expand whatever the existing through your research. You can come up with something, the tentative theory, the new idea out of it. Okay, all right. Now, again, still in the research framework concept. It often labeled as literature review. Yes, because you can find all the concept from the literature. So that's why if, let's say, your supervisor or sometimes the examiner or the reader, if you send your paper to certain journal, they will say that is insufficient. The information is insufficient, meaning that we are not read our literature enough. Okay, based on the frame that we are setting up. It means that, for example, like if your area, someone expert in the area that you are doing your research. So supposedly you read 100 papers, for example, but you only read 50. So another 50, you are lacking of to read your literature. So if the examiner or the reader, okay, or the reviewer read, they simply and directly can say that you are not read enough because that is in their expert of area of expertise. Okay, so that's why framework is very important for you to narrow your scope. When you narrowing your scope good enough in terms of uh, the area, okay, of your research itself, so your examiner, your reader, your reviewer will not comment about insufficient of the topic your area. Okay, so that's why framework can help the researcher to bound the area of your research. Okay, sometimes it can be danger, okay, because of what? Your theory of what is happening is something you built, is not found. Okay, this is, how should I say? Okay, this is slightly different from quantitative researcher and qualitative researcher from building up the theory. Okay, one thing, these are tips I would like to share with all the participants, okay, based on my experiences, whereby in qualitative research, if you become the qualitative researcher, you are trying to explore the phenomena, okay, whatever your research area. When you try to explore the area of research that you are interested with, that you are interested in, okay, so what you are trying to do is you are trying to digging out as much as possible the information from the aspect of what? Concept. You are trying to find the new concept based on the existing concept that you have. In other words, you are trying to find more variables based on existing variables. So that is the tips on the qualitative research. So when you build the framework, you find the existing concept, but you are trying to dig out more concepts. Okay, so that's why it mentioned here it is not found, but you are trying to build a new concept. Now, don't confuse when I said that concept. For example, like, okay, food. Okay, now, let's say the new concept that you find in food, okay, your research is about food, you find is about the medication. Medication and food is totally different, right? If you are trying to find a relationship, is there any relationship between food and medication? By right at the beginning, nowadays, I think all people know that it's related. If you take food consumption overload, so you become obesity, you can get sick. Get sick, you have to get the medication. You see that or not? So it's a long journey for you to find the relationship. So if you are the qualitative researcher, that is something you build. You build here means that food, you relate with the medication. Whereby medication is one school of thought, different school of thought. You see that or not? But that is something that you build. You are not found. Based on your reading literature, you came up with the food. Everything is about food. Suddenly, you came up with medication. Oh, okay, that is something that you built. So you injected the medication into the food world. So let's say I, an accounting lecturer, okay, when I pursue my PhD, okay, I'm doing my research in the area of accounting plus IT because I'm doing electronic procurement. Okay. Now, based on my reading, okay, and after I conduct my research, I get the data, I figure out there is something about CSR. Okay. What is it? CSR? Social responsibility, right? Okay. So, in the accounting world, CSR is a common terms. Okay. There are so many research have been conducted about CSR. But when I combine accounting and IT world, in IT world, CSR is not really common. Okay. When I injected a little bit with the procurement, okay, a little bit of business management point of view, got CSR, but not as many as accounting. See that or not? So, meaning that now I injected CSR from accounting point of view is all enough. But from the IT point of view, wow, it is a quite new. So that is what it means. You build, not because of it is not found. You build it. Actually, it's there, but you build it. This is something that you, through the experiences and through the reading and through the guidance from your supervisor, you can see this even clearer. Okay? Now, having said about this, you cannot read your literature for the sake of reading. You have to read your literature critically, whereby otherwise it will become your conceptual framework is only descriptive. Descriptive means that you just explain, okay? But there is no, how should I say? There is no elements of novelty. So in the framework, it lies your novelty, okay? Now, the literature is not the authority. It is the weak sources of idea and ways of seeing the world. Remember, even though I said that research framework, okay, or theoretical framework come from the literature, but is not meant 100% come from the literature because, you see, I highlight the authority. No, actually it comes from your critical thinking of reading that literature. You often heard your supervisor or wherever you go when you listen to the speaker who talk about the research, right? They all said, okay, please read your literature critically. Critically. What does it mean critically? Meaning that they want you to find the novelty. Okay, the novelty here means that just like I mentioned, you are trying to dig out the information about the concept food. But at the end of the day, if you think critically, if you read critically, you can see that, oh, the food is not about the culture, it's not about the common one, but something related with technology. So that's the reason why people now have the watch, not just to look at the time, but to check the health. Why? Because the health is much concerned with the food consumption that you take. You see that or not? That is what critical literature review means. You can come up with a new concept. It's not because it is not found, but you build it based on, now, I put back this one. What? Assumption. Maybe at the beginning you have the assumption, but when you keep on reading, at the end of the day, it becomes the fixed concept. Okay? This you have to really understand. Okay. Now, You need to think about whether it is useful or not, what is missing, how it can fill the gap. I did mention previously. Okay, when I show you about this, it going back framework for you to identify the research gap or research problem. Okay, how? This is how. Because when you are trying to read your literature to find the concept, in order for you to develop your framework, you have to think this question. What do you think is going on with this issue? Actually, all of us as a researcher, the moment you think, you already identify the gap. But the moment you involve in this process of research, you forget what you want to do actually. Okay? At the beginning, why you want to do that, you already know. Why? There's something wrong somewhere. And that is the gap. But when you into the process of research, sometimes you are being flooded or crowded with all the information because you really want to do very technical or following the research process, you even forget the simple one. Actually, what I want to find, what is my research gap actually? So you have to sit back and then think from the beginning why you want to do that research at the beginning. Okay? On with the issue, setting, or people you plan to study just now. When I narrow my framework, remember, from the food to types of food and to the Malaysian people who take the food. Now you see, people you plan to study. What is your theory? See that? So meaning that when you want to develop your framework, what you have to do is you have to do planning. Okay, you have to very smart in doing your planning. So how are you going to do that? That's why you have to read several methodology books, how you want to do the good literature review and so on. Okay, what established theories, beliefs, okay, and prior research finding inform you current understanding what's going on. So you have to find the current one, what's going on the current one, which is leads to unsolved problem. Okay, what literature, what kind of studies that been conducted previously. Okay, so that's why I said that this flow of research process is very important. You know why? The moment I put about this, now I'm thinking about what? I'm thinking about this second layer of the flow of research process. I'm thinking about methodology. Who are the people that involved? If they involve, how about only Malaysian? How about Singapore? Now you see, you keep on digging out, no longer about the concept, but beyond the concept that you are seeking. Because I said that it is related with, you have to think about this question. Who are the people? What kind of issue, what the previous study had been conducted. That's how when you keep on looking at your literature, you find out, you can say that, oh, in America, it's like this. In European countries, it's like this. But in Asia countries, it's like this. Now, you see that or not? Based on the literature, based on a preliminary study, you can dig out even more concept. And your concept now, it become international concept because you read from different perspective through different countries. Now you already do what? Extended your theory, a tentative theory. All right? Okay. So up to this, understand or not the concept of framework? Before I show you actually what you need to do so far. So far, so good? Any question? No.
No. Doctor.
Okay, all right. Now I proceed with part C. If you need a break, you just mention to me, okay? I try to finish up as so kalau saya, if I can finish earlier, so you can have more time to ask a question. Okay. Understand, part C, I divided into two. Understand how does framework derive from literature. You understand already, okay? But I just want to share with you about the literature, okay? Now, you normal, you do that. The author, the year, the concept, theory, the purpose, the methodology, and the findings, okay? All right, now. I normally like to use this relevance tree. I call this as relevance tree. Okay, you see that how I develop the concept through my reading. The objective that I want to find is how to evaluate e-procurement implementation in public sector. That is my idea. I want to know how does public sector implement e-procurement and how can I evaluate whether their e-procurement is efficient or not. Something like that came up in my mind. So what I will do, I start do the critical literature review. I found what is definition, what is obstacles, what is the critical success factor. Then I when keep on reading, I can do all these. What should I say? I do all these concept. Everything that I put here, the success, the benefits, monetary, manager, all these are concept. Now I have to connect all these concept. How I connected to this concept? I keep on reading. I keep on reading. So when I keep on reading, okay, I figure out something like this. Okay, I know it's not the overnight for you to get something like this, but it's through the reading, through the supervision session with your supervisor, through your reading part. Okay, I figure out that after I keep on reading, okay, I don't want to do something about evaluation. I want to do something about when I read, the gap, the problem, I think is a more on negotiation, whether it's success or not. So the evaluation that I'm looking after at the beginning is evaluation of the implementation. Now I change my evaluation only focusing on the negotiation. See that or not? Negotiation is something different. Okay, if I'm talking about procurement, I'm talking about evaluation of procurement, it could be common. But when I'm talking about negotiation, so what with the negotiation? But when I injected that with the technology, you see, implementation perspective, I have managerial, I have organizational, I have technology. When I put this, it means that in my literature review write-up chapter, I had all of these concepts. So when I write about the managerial, yes, managerial got the problem. Organizational, yes, had the problem. But technology even more. And it meshed with the electronic procurement. Now, from the technology, relate with the managerial. Managerial, we are talking about what? Negotiation. Management do the negotiation via the electronic world. Electronic, we are talking about the technology. You see that is what I meant by tentative theory by doing the critical literature review. Okay, so I start up with broad and narrow it down. Okay, so after that, I list down all the concept chosen for my topic. Now, if you look back to your flow of the research, the topic is at the beginning, right? So the topic, that's why your supervisor normally will say that never mind, you just put whatever topic as long as the keyword still there. Why? Because you might change your topic once you get all the concept that you want. And this concept is what? The chosen concept for your topic means what? Your framework. Based on what? Literature review. So when I mentioned from beginning, from 9 o'clock, now it's almost 10 o'clock, right? When I shared this knowledge with all the participants, it's based on my reading. Okay, based on my reading from the books, from the literature, okay, from my supervisor's advice, and based on my understanding. So I make it, there will be the steps actually for you to develop framework. So if you look carefully here, the chosen concept, when I said that the chosen concept, all of this I discuss very details in my literature review chapter. And I relate every single concept. How e-procurement relates with sourcing, how sourcing relates with negotiation, how e-procurement relates with social issues, how negotiation relate with the social issues, and how all of this can provide the benefits. Okay, so if you look here, social issues exist in my framework. E-procurement exists in my framework. Negotiation exists in my framework. Sourcing exists in my framework. And how can I put here, I put negotiation, but here I put the business negotiation, because when I read critically, I read many paper on negotiation, but all of negotiation talking about the world war, the battles. They negotiate among America and China, Europe and America, Russia and America. They are talking about how they're dealing with all these political issue when they negotiate. And very little talking about business negotiation, not saying that little, quite many, but it's very little on electronic terms when dealing with the technology. So that is my gap. So if, let's say, face-to-face negotiation will be similar like electronic negotiation, why the organization wants to spend a lot of money to invest in that system? It's such a waste. See that or not? And in fact, they might invent many different type of technology just to cater for this negotiation, whereby there is no need. See that or not? Okay, so that is how critical you are when you read your literature to find your gap. Okay, now this is the based on literature. All right, so based on the concept, identify. Okay, now is it come from literature? Yes, you can say yes now. Clearly you can say yes to me. But now, how can it be the framework derived from the data collection, from the data that you analyze? Can it be works that way? Yes. In the qualitative research, yes. Why? Because before I explain, remember when I show you the process, the theory bound with your literature. Literature is the place for you to derive the framework. Now you see I put the arrow, the yellow arrow, including the data. So that's why from the data driven, can we build the framework? Yes. Okay. How? You have to understand the theory. I think I give you quite good enough When I said that food to types to the, not only types, to the Malaysian people who eat, then expanded to the theory, to the medication, to health, to dietary. Now, I think nowadays we are talking about the salary, even if in Malaysia, food consumption, whereby to the hunger. You can relate back with the SDG now, which is how people, food security, waste management. Waste not only about the uh, metals, okay, glasses, but the food wastage. So you see that or not, now there are so many expanded of theory from the food. Now we are talking about relate with the salary. In Malaysia, we have B40, we have T20, now we have M40. Hopefully tak ada lagi lah. No such thing as Z whatever. Now, if you want to conduct the research, it's only about food. We can say that, let's say we want to compare with China, for example. Okay, maybe the structure of salary in China compared to Malaysia could be slightly different. Does it give the impact to the food security in both countries? So that is another type of research. And the concept, the theory startup, it's only food. But you relate with another concept, which is what? The salary, the wealth. Now you relate back, that is the world of what? The world of economy. Maybe you can use the idea from the economy point of view. Even though, let's say, I will conduct that type of research, for example, and in fact, I conducted that research already. So now, I an accounting lecturer, I an accounting researcher, but I'm doing something not in the accounting world, actually, because I'm talking about food security. The only maybe related a little bit to me is about the salary, the expenses, how they spend the money to buy the food, and the food that they consume, does it is really secure to them in terms of what? Now we are talking about the health. All right. Okay. So these are kind of concept. Always remember, theory is the idea. That idea will lead to the concept. That's how you expand your critical thinking when you do the research. So that's why when you conduct the research, always you heard that people say that you have to conduct it with passionate. Okay, you have to like it. It's not because of passionate of like it. It because of you wants to solve the problem. You wants to help the people. You want to help the public. Why all the time this don't have any solution? We are not trying to provide the solution because we are social science researcher, but at least we can make the people in the area of that phenomenon aware. Okay. When you are talking about the food security, don't only talk about people, salary, but you have to talk about the types of food, the availability of food, about the culture of that country also. See that or not? There are so many different kind of concern that we have to think about because we are the social science researcher. Okay. Now, the theory, okay. Now, I think regarding this theory, I will, because I will share this with all of you. Okay. How you going to identify the theory? I give you the step by step because today is about the framework. Now, I will glance through quite fast regarding the theory. Okay, the step 1. What you need to do? Now, when I mention about theory, theory is to guide. Okay, theory is to guide your literature. Now, this is the tricky part. Okay, step 1, what you have to do, when you select the theory, for what purposes? To guide your research. When to guide your research, you have to remember the theory that you choose will guide the concept of your research. will guide the concept that you identified here. For example, in the literature review, I identify this concept. So I need to find the theory that suit the concept that I will use. Okay, so in this case, keep on reading, I found out actor network theory can be used to identify social issues from my area of study. Okay, my theory will use to explain party that involved in negotiation process in electronic world, not face-to-face negotiation. Because my theory, my idea, I choose this idea actor network theory. The idea of actor network can explain all the concept that I choose for my topic. Okay, how? Okay, go to second step. You have to know how to explain the theory that you choose to be used for your research. Okay, this is a theory that I select. I said that in this theory, I have to show what kind of obstacles, the problems that we raise when they negotiate through technology, who are the people involved here in that technology, in that negotiation process, what kind of goal for each of these people who negotiate, because all of the people involved, they are using the technology. What will happen if the trust is not there? Will be success the goal that they want to achieve? If let's say actor 1 and actor 2 did not agree, does the goal be achieved? No. Because of what? We have to identify the problem. So this is the idea that I want to deliver in my thesis. Is it, do you think? Doctor, that is common. We already know trust is the problem. Yes. But can you prove it in my area? By having only one journal. Oh yes, this proof. No, I have to conduct the proper research. Okay? All right. Now, the third step, just now, you have to explain how it can be used. The theory that you choose can be used for your study. Then you have to support with other studies, even though it's not directly related to you, but it relates somewhere, somehow. For example, like Tatnall and Burgess. Use ANT to identify what? Factors affecting adoption e-commerce. But mine, also I want to find factors, which is the problem, but from technology point of view in electronic procurement world. See that or not? And you have to keep on reading. That's why you read to build your theory, to build your idea, to build your own concept later on. Okay? But it's not because of it is not found in your literature. It is in your literature. But, for example, this one. When I use ANT using by Tatnall, it is in literature, but I'm not using it as the way it is, but I'm diverting it for the sake of my area. Okay? Now, why this theory is important? Because it relates back to your concept. Your concept relates back to your framework. Okay, when you ask me, why doctor you put oval, it's just because I want it to look beautiful. I can put in the rectangular, I can put in the triangle, okay? So as long as you understand the meaning of it. All right. Now, so after you get the theory, you done. Now is the place you have the theory, you have the concept, and you conduct your research, which is guided by theory. So from the data driven, I get this is another conceptual framework, and I give in terms of diagram. Sorry, I give it in terms of graphical because I like graphic a lot. So now This is the framework I derive based on the data analysis, based on the data. It's slightly different, right? Even though you see the oval. Now, last part, how these two differ. You can see clearly here, this is derived from literature and this is derived from the literature and the theory that guided my research. This is embedded only literature review. But when I perceive it and I am blended it with the theory to guide my research, and that theory is actor network theory, I found out that actually the sourcing is not only talking about procurer and supplier, okay, that influence this business negotiation. Actually, it is the human and non-human actors. Who is human, who is non-human? So now the human is procurer, supplier, not only procurer, supplier, but the procurement team, and there are so many. I did not list all here, but details I explained in my thesis. And the social issues is not the major influence of the sourcing, which is will give impact to the business negotiation, but actually it become part of the sourcing also. Okay, and social issues no longer become the problem. It is part of. They have, when you dealing electronic procurement, when you do the negotiation in electronic world, these social issues is no longer an issue. It become norm. It become part of the life of negotiation in technology world. You see that? This is the novelty that I proved based on my PhD thesis. Based on literature saying that social issues has become what? The factors that influence. Factors that influence. No, I said that through the eyes of the theory, no, this is not an issue. This become part of the agenda that you have to deal with. If you don't have that, your negotiation in the electronic world will not success. And even though you spend so much money to implement the system, it didn't work. It will flush into the toilet. Yes, it might be used, but it cannot be fully utilized. So that you have to mention the way that I mentioned based on finding the framework now is where I give you back this. That's why conclusion, going back to the theory that you use. All right. Okay. When I mention theory, it embed back to your conceptual framework. So that's why conceptual framework. If you say that, is it important and very essential? I would say yes. Because from the conceptual framework, we can understand about your research question, about your research problem, about your data finding, about your conclusion, and about the theory that you use. Okay, so about few minutes I'll finish. I give you another example. This is the example. I already asked the permission from now it's no longer my student. She got the PhD already. Okay. And this is the framework through literature. Okay. Applying theories and conceptual framework. You see what kind of concept that I mentioned this Dr. Nur Hafizah. Now she doctor already. Okay. She also look after to find the issue in social and also in technical. If you compare to mine, I only want to look at the social issues. I don't want to look at technical issues because in electronic procurement, technical issues is not a big issue. Even though there is the issue there, but through my reading critically, no, technical is not really big issue because they know how to overcome that technical issues, but not the social issues. Okay. But maybe from Dr. Fiza here, while she do her research on the taxation, so she figure out technical is a part of the big issue. Now, what I want you to look here, look at the theory that she used. How many theory? 4 theories. Mine is only use one theory. So can it be used many theories? Yes, you may. Can be used many concepts? Yes, you may. If you look carefully, Dr. Fiza here using what make it unique. She used her concept, not the way I'm using my concept. She used the concept based on what? System development process. So she used the process as the concept. System development life cycle concept. Okay? She used the phases in developing the tax system. She used again the phases is the process. So indirectly, I would like to share with the participant when I said that concept is not necessary. The concept is the concept, the way mine determine the concept for my framework. But Dr. Nofiza is using the process. Okay, and she even used 3 different theory to explain. Stakeholders theory. Who will be the stakeholders theory? Client and vendor. She even used the theory to explain about the sociology, social and also technical issue. She used specific theory. Okay, because she know who is the client, who is the vendor. Like mine, I didn't know who are the negotiator in electronic world. See that or not? So that's why I cannot use one specific theory. Stakeholders theory is client and vendor. Stakeholders can be anybody, but from the perspective critically, Dr. Fiza said that my stakeholder theory that I'm using to explain about this client and vendor. Okay. Now, this is from literature. And she presented it from data-driven. This is how it looks like. Okay, now if you notice here client vendor, but here it adding up one. Who is it? What it is? Tax authority. Who? So when she conduct this research, she found out that not only client and vendor to ensure the success of the uh, taxation system, okay, but tax authority play a big role also. So now this is the new one. Is differ from the data, driven from literature. Information driven from literature. Okay, but all the concept is remain the same here. And it even saying that, okay, this color representing what, the dotted red color is explaining what about the process. Okay, this is what does it mean. It explains every single thing about the concept that derive from the data driven. What make the literature and the data driven differ. Okay, now I give you another example. This is actually the way the theory exists. And I'm using the theory of this actor network theory. You see, the way it put the graphic, if you look here, this is the fisherman who caught the fish. You see that or not? Sometimes we figure out, it seems like it didn't make sense. Okay, this is about the arah angin. Okay, now all of this is the framework. So the framework can be anything, especially in the qualitative research. If the quantitative, we know that normally you will have the square or the rectangular and you find the relationship. Okay. And this is the one that I applied from the theory to my research. Okay, I embed my concept of research to the theory. All right. And I provide several of the framework. Okay. And this is slightly different. Okay, this framework, this, this is a friend of mine. Okay. It lists what? It lists all the details about the factor. And this is the framework. Because it look from the aspect of what? Critical success factor. So the list here actually is critical success factor from the aspect concept of what? Management, stakeholders, content, and technology. And this become framework. Okay, so framework can come from the process, framework can come from in terms of the list, it can comes from any different form. Okay, so I think that will be all, almost 1.5 hours. I do explain on the concept of, does the conceptual framework come from data driven or come from literature review? Okay, now, so if let's say you want to use the term, okay, if you want to use the term theoretical framework or conceptual framework, it depends, you find the concept, how you find the concept from your literature review. If let's say you take most of the concept from theoretical, from theory, sometimes, for example, I put it this way, let's say TAM, Technology Acceptance Model. Technology Acceptance Model, you already have the model, right? And each of that model consists of the variables, okay? Perceived ease of use, for example. Technology Acceptance Model, you want to perceive usefulness of the system. Usefulness of the system, is it concept? It first is a concept, but now because you had the model and that model derived, they have already fixed theory, which is technology acceptance model. Then you can say that that is the theoretical framework because you take the concept from the existing theory that exists. Like mine, I choose from the concept of negotiation, concept of the e-procurement. So it depends. If normally you take from the model, sometimes you can say that you can name that as the theoretical model because when you had the model, it means that it's already been tested with so many researchers and it become fixed. Okay? All right. So I think that will be all regarding the how to develop theoretical framework. Okay, I think I stop now. I open session if the participants have any questions to ask me.
Assalamualaikum, Doktor.
Waalaikumsalam.
Dr. Noi, in the last slide,
Okay, last slide.
is that what we have in the box? Is that what we call as dimension?
This one.
No, the bullet. Is that the dimension or what?
Oh, this one, the leadership, top management.
Yeah.
Okay. This is, okay, you can say that this dimension, but we have to read the thesis of this researcher. Okay, we can name this that a dimension, or we can say that is the subsection or the sub concept of the management from the aspect of knowledge management. So the terms that use, either it dimension or it's a subtopic of the management, or it's a sub-concept of the management, all right? It lies more on the way that the researcher design when they read from the literature. Okay? Faham tak maksudnya? Maksudnya macam, okay, here, bila disebut conceptual framework, proposed grouping of factor relevant to knowledge transfer via government website. So, this particular person is looking at the knowledge transfer, okay, that happen when the person in the education department look at the website, okay, how that knowledge can be transferred. Okay, what factors that influence the design of that system, of that website, of the government website, education website. Okay, so when he keep on reading the literature, he figure out one of the element that influence, okay, the government website, education government website, all right, is due to the way of the leader give the instruction, okay, because I read the PhD of this, the students, okay, it can be transferred easily, much relies on the way of leader thinking to design the website. Okay, for example, one of the example that provided there based on the data driven, okay, this is based on the literature, okay, is the finding stated that because it compare from Australia and Malaysia, all right, so she discovered that the reason why our website is considered not very colorful as compared to Australian website for the education website, okay, is due to our country had been invaded by foreigner. Kita dijajah. So that's why being a leader, our leader in Malaysia, we have that kind of thinking. Dia mempengaruhi, it influence the thinking of our leader due to that. So we can say that leadership is one of the dimension that leads to the way management of people in Malaysia, even though when they are setting up the website for government, because it's focused on government but not the private sector. So if you ask whether we can say the leadership, whatever the bullet, this can be become the dimension that representing the I can say this the themes up here that derive from the literature, yes, we may. Okay. Am I answering the question?
Yes, Doctor. Very clear. Thank you.
Okay, all right.
Doctor.
Yeah.
Can you guide me?
Okay.
I intend to do this to explore SME going international. So on the concept is international business, right?
Okay. Meaning that you want to bring SME in Malaysia to sell their product internationally, or is that will be the concept or different
Yes,
concept?
right. That's the
So,
concept, selling whatever that they have from Malaysia, outside Malaysia, internationally.
okay. So meaning that you are focusing on marketing our product, marketing the SME's product, right? Okay.
I'm looking into their intention of going there.
Oh, okay. Is it you are looking from not awareness whether they would like to sell international? What is the barrier that stop them to
I'm
sell their
looking into
product there? Is something like that?
it's more towards expansion of their business, because the local market is since they are going going digital, so they might as well go international because a bigger market size.
Okay. So now your concern is whereby why?
I want to explore
Mm.
when is the I want to explore their internationalization, the intent to go international. I want to see what are the factors that contribute them to make that decision.
Okay. So I get
It's a qualitative
yeah.
approach, Doctor.
Yes.
I want to do
The
case
visual.
study, something like that.
Yes.
Right.
That is exploratory study. So that's why I said that you want to look at the reason why they are reluctant. Is that the one? Or you want to look at from the issues that going on in Malaysia? Because if let's say I just give you the idea, okay, for you to something to ponder. So if you
Alright.
want to look from the aspect, for example, I said that why they are reluctant. Now you are talking about more to the behavioral of the SMEs people. Okay, see that or not? So now in terms of concept, you are looking from the individuals. All right.
Yep.
But if let's say I mentioned just now, are you looking from the marketing point of view, okay, to market their product to international? Now you are looking from different aspect. It's no longer individual. Now it can become the policy of our countries. So meaning that you have to look at for those who parties in Malaysia that been developed by our government, either public sector or private sector, does they really help the SME to market their product internationally? See that or not? Now you are diverting to more to the policy maker. Now it's different, you see, but your target respondent still, you have to ask the SME people, see that or not? But if you focusing on the marketing, it could be you need to also interview the policy maker that related with the SME people or the SME organization. Or if let's say you want to focus on internationalization, could it be our country prepared all? Is that or not? Prepared all the mechanism in terms of the readiness of the SMEs people, in terms of the policy of the Malaysia had been developed in such a way, okay? Maybe, so what's the problem? So maybe it will involve the problems derived from the international countries, the one that you want to market your product. So now it's a different angle already. So that is you have, I know that when you read more, right? So you rasa macam, oh yang tu best, oh this one I think is even better, oh I think that is even interesting. Normally, what my advice normally through my experiences, sometimes you get overwhelming, when you read more, you get overwhelming. Oh, I think this better, this better. But always remember, PhD is not trying to change the world. You only try to know how to conduct your proper research, okay, to get very simple novelty. But that is only your start up, how should I say, your start up to venture even more. Contoh, for example, let's say you are trying to do in the internationalization. You take the third option, right? So
The
you
internalization.
yes, you become the expert to explore could be about the international economics. Am I not? Because now we have this natural disaster all the time occurs, economic instability of economy. Certain country have very stable economy. How that happen? Whereby certain countries, you see that not? Whereby what you plan to do is only about SME to go to international. But your expertise is become internationalization business. You see that or not? It's not really to SME, but your
Right.
startup is from SME back in Malaysia. But if let's say you choose the first one, that's why I said that it's only the startup for you to venture even more in future. So let's say if you choose the behavioral of SME, now you can become the consultant to the SME people. You see that or not? To help them out in terms of, okay, you can use this technology. Maybe in future you can become the expertise in helping them from the aspect of technology point of view. So
Okay.
So I hope that I'm not trying to give you the topic or whatsoever. I just give you the opinion for you to think
Yeah.
about something to venture about you to start up to read your literature critically and which aspect
Okay.
you want to find. Hope it's happy.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, Doctor.
Okay.
Actually, I want to use I want to see I want to explore actually how this big data analytics facilitate the SME going internationalization.
Okay.
That basically is what I want to look at lah, basically.
Oh, so that very good. But kalau if let's say you want to do that, it's a more on technology point of view. When you are mentioning about big data analytic, now your SME, you have to very careful. When you sit at SME, which level of SME? Now we have small, we have medium, we have the enterprise. I think when you are talking about big data analytic, it's a more on enterprises.
Yeah, basically, there's one, I want to do it as a case study because I already identified one company which is a young entrepreneur and they
Okay.
already have gone through IPO as well,
Oh,
exercise, and they have got all the money. And I want to
okay.
see that what are the factors that facilitate them to go international, you know? So these
Oh,
are all the things that I already have set up. Yep.
Oh, you already had with you already. So now you just have, I think I know what you want to do. I can see clearly what your output will looks like. Okay. But you only take one case study. That's only my concern. Okay. If you take one
Yeah.
case study, all right, I know that if you take only one case study, you have to have many different level of participants from the top management, middle management. If you
Okay.
choose only one, then only you
The whole team, is it? The whole team of that organization.
yes, because now when you said that you wants to know their intention of going internationalization, right? To go to international, and you have this one, I can say that one organization as your sample.
Right.
Okay,
You did
that means you
analysis,
only
yeah.
one case study. So if you have only one case study, that will be enough. But if you want to know the intention, so the intention is not only come from the top management. So you have to go through the top, middle, whoever that involved, up to could be to the operational level.
Okay.
Okay, then you only know, then you can see that the problem or the issues may rise because of different opinion. You see that or not? Different opinion from the top management up to the operational level, from the strategic level up to the operational level. Then you can see how the issues have been collided there.
Okay.
So maybe that is the reason why they have the intention to go to international, but maybe you can help that organization. Oh, your problem actually is this. If you solve this, you can go to international. Maybe
Okay.
that's you have to that's why you have to explore.
Yep.
But I can see
The
really
theory that
help.
the theory that I intend to use is on dynamic capability, where it has these three main factors for it, which is sensing,
Yep.
reconfigure, and capture
Yeah.
the business opportunities. Yep.
Yeah.
So basically, the output of this research is that I'll be like adding on to the theory, or what, Doctor?
Now you have that one theory, which is you are using the dynamic, what is it that just now?
Capability, dynamic
Dynamic
capability
capability.
theory.
That means you want to look at that organization, whether they have the capabilities and it's a dynamic or not, to ensure
Yeah.
whatever the strength, that they had, they can go to international. Maybe, I'm not so sure, maybe you have to inject that also the analysis, the SWOT analysis, because only having
Okay.
dynamic and capabilities, but you still have to look from the threatened point of view. You see that or not? Okay,
Right.
so dynamic capabilities only can explain how dynamic the organization is, how capable the organization is, but how you're going to discover about the threat that they will face.
Yeah.
The competition, the competitors, you cannot left
Okay.
behind the competitors. So
Right.
maybe I just throw the idea. Maybe you have to read more on from the management theory or the marketing theory, because when you mention you go international, the threat is not come only from the Malaysia, but from the overseas.
The other party. Yeah.
Yes. So that's why I think you have to inject that one more theory to explain about the internationalization. By doing
Okay.
the only dynamic capabilities is only you look from the aspect internal organization, but not
Yes.
external
Internal.
organization.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
That is
Doctor,
something
can I
important.
communicate with you later?
Yes,
Later, if
you may, no problem. I
okay.
provide the first page, okay, and I will share this with the with Fatin later on, so they will share
Right.
this with you all. So just
Be-
contact me or WhatsApp me, no
because
problem.
because I noticed that you are more on the qualitative, because my
Yeah.
supervisors are all quantitative, so that's why I need another
Oh,
another
another
person to help
opinion.
me. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Right.
No problem. I
All right.
can share whatever limited knowledge that I
All right.
had. So
All right.
that shouldn't be no
Thank you so
problem.
much.
All right.
All right. Thank you so much, Doctor.
Okay, most welcome.
Assalamualaikum, Doctor.
Waalaikumsalam.
Actually, I wanted you to expand a little bit on, when we get overwhelmed by, after reading so much, we sometimes get
Okay.
overwhelmed. So what are some of your tips that you can help us in terms of how do we control that?
Overwhelming.
Yeah, not just overwhelming, but you get ideas and another idea and then another idea. So
Yeah.
how do we control that process? And there's also another person who also asked a similar question as well.
Oh, okay. All right. So to avoid the overwhelming, how long, may I ask, how long you get overwhelming already? 1 year already?
Well, it's just that every time I read, I come up with a new idea, and then I go through that whole process of exploring that idea, and then from that idea, I get another idea, and then I go through that whole process of going into that phase. So it's a bit difficult for me in terms of how do I sort of control that, don't deviate so much from what I'm doing, what my original idea. I mean, I know that sometimes you will, but to a point where I feel like, okay, which direction should I go?
Okay. So, there is no right or wrong answer. Okay. Maybe I will share through my experiences. Okay. There's no such thing that I up in the books regarding about overwhelming of reading the literature. So that's the reason why the framework is very important. Okay. What I can share based on my experience, for your information, before I came up with that electronic procurement, I read all kind of any electronic in the world. E-health, e-voting, you just name it, all is. Okay, so that is overwhelming startup. All right, now,
Yeah,
so
that's where I'm at now.
yes, I know, I know how you feel. Okay, because I've gone through that. So what I did is I sit back. I didn't read any further. Okay, whatever that you had right now. Okay, whatever that you had right now. I didn't bring. I didn't put it here. That is actually about literature review topic actually. Okay, so based on my experience, what I did, I stopped from reading. I stopped from searching. Okay, I pull back myself a little bit. I just sit down, So what I did is whatever that I had at present. So let's say now you read how many journals, how many papers, for example. Let's say you only read about 10, not even 20, not even hundreds, okay? You only have 10. If you read 10 journals, you already had overwhelming, so you need to stop. Okay, because if you keep on reading even more, you will not get even one simple topic. Okay, so even though you have 10, so that's why I'm asking you how long you feel that way. Okay, you have to put stop. If let's say it prolong up to almost 6 months, you have to say to yourself, no, I had to stop. I had to look back and dig out whatever that I had right now. Whether it's enough or not, just get whatever you had up to this point, up as per today. Okay? You open back whatever that you read. Okay? That's what I did. Okay? So then I look at the abstract. If let's say you do just like table form, just like I show you the literature just now, right? Something like this or something like this, right? Okay, you look back now, what you have to do, even though let's say you have only 10 articles, all right? You look back, then you pull out. If let's say you didn't pull out the certain concept or the information, you just take from there, collect it. Okay, collect it and try to find the relationship or the puzzle, whatever that you had right now. Got what I mean or not? It doesn't matter if you find out that what only this is something is not like wow so great for PhD. You might say that only this, is it true this will become my PhD? No, that is the first thing you have to take out from your mind. Okay? Because you will never know with that 10 journal, you can have that you without realize, you might have another intention theory that came up from that simple 10 journals that you have. Rather than you say that, oh, I have not enough read, I have to read more. But you keep on reading more, but it didn't give any value added to the one that you read previously. Got what I mean or not? That's happened to me. It took me about 8 months. Keep on reading, but when I showed to my supervisor said, what? You didn't make any progress, Noraiza. What? I said that, what? I've read so many articles. Why you said that? Macam nak bergaduh lah pula dengan supervisor kan? Okay. Because you are the one who do the reading. But sometimes, at one point of time, when I sit back, betul lah, my supervisor know better. Because she already had many experiences. She know whether we stuck or not. Okay. So, at that point, when my supervisor said to me, you didn't make any progress, I feel like memang crying lah. Itu dah for sure. Okay, I cried a lot. I said that, where does it goes wrong? I read not enough. What? I understand not enough. Rasa during that time, I think my dictionary dah 3-4 kot. But English is not our mother tongue language kan. So at the end of the day, I tell myself, enough, because my supervisor said, I think you read enough. Okay, look back. So that's what I did. I look back, then what I did, I take out my paper, the journal. I sort my journal, anything that's similar. So when I sort my journal, the one that I read, okay, into how many percent similar, not similar, about similar. So that's how I figure out. I just noticed that the pile of my paper is more on e-procurement without I realizing it. Oh, then I decide, all right, I put aside all other E's, I focus on e-procurement. Then I dig out from there. So that's how you can move on. Otherwise, you keep on, you notice what I said is, you keep on putting a new pile of concept
Yes. Yes. Yes.
without having connection among all the concepts.
Right.
But you keep on reading more. You think you keep on reading more. Yes, now because we have the time constraint. Kalau kita tak ada time constraint, there shouldn't be any problem. We can read until the end of the time, no problem. Because you have the limited time. So that's why
Yes.
framework is very important. So if you are drowning in that literature, you will face the same thing again if you did not try to figure out now when you can read, no problem, but you will have the problem when you start do your analysis of data. So because you don't have the fixed framework. Okay.
Yes.
Maybe saya tak pasti what you are trying to do. Maybe you can email saya ke, list down the concept that you have. Maybe I can give you more, not say that more advice to share what maybe you have to do next. But at this present, if you are too overwhelming, you stop. You stop, you
Okay.
collect back all, you ada simpan semua file-file you, right? Okay, you susun
Yes.
balik which is most important, whatsoever. Then you look at that trend.
Okay.
But, however, apa yang you dah baca, whatever that you read more, don't throw it away.
Okay.
You do it as archive, but you will surprise, that happened to me too. When I took my data collection, I took the data collection kan. When I want to do my conclusion, the one that I feel like this is not relevant at all to my thesis, that actually the paper support my finding.
I see.
So that's why whatever you do, don't treat that as a such a waste. I read this. There's no such thing as a waste in terms of knowledge. You just put saying that this is a 10% use. This is 100% use. Nanti kalau ni saya boleh share WhatsApp saya, nanti saya boleh share how many percent that you should have with you. Actually yang betul-betul relate dengan you punya area. Actually how many? That is through my reading part, I can conclude that how many percent actually you should read your literature that can build your framework is quite enough for your PhD. Dia ada persen-persen dia.
Okay. Thank you, Doctor.
Alright. Okay, any more question? Okay. So if let's say don't have any question, I wish all of you good luck with your journey. Always people say that is a lonely journey. No, that is not true. The lonely journey is when you have to do your write-up because you have to do on your own. But throughout the process, you are not alone. There are so many other people's books, librarian. There are so many people who involved with you. It's just that whether you are willing to involve yourself with others. Okay, I know that you have supervisor 1, 2, 3, but actually in PhD, actually your supervisors is entire world. Okay, become your supervisor. Even sometimes your own parents, sometimes your beloved one, sometimes your children. You know why I said that? When I stuck up during my PhD level, I want to draw to show that the similarities and differences, how it collide, I got stuck. And you know, my husband said to me, just through my experiences, my husband said to me during that time, concept lah, that one, this one, you can discover it. Just to show the collision between similar and differences, by finding I cannot draw it, I cannot do it. So, you know, my husband bring me to the ada pelekat di refrigerator tu. You nampak tak? You buat je 2 kotak, tengah-tengah tu shaded kan, tu lah yang sama antara dua-dua. So you just imagine up to that extent. When comes to PhD, if you are overwhelming or if you are drowning with the information, sometimes even the simple thing we can't think. once you finish your PhD, once finish your journey, you will laugh at yourself. Nah, that silly I am. Yes, that's why we being a student, because we want to seek more knowledge for ourselves. So that's why become silly people. All right. Okay. So that's why it's not a lonely journey. Only the lonely journey during your write up stage. That's one, no one can help you. The one that can help you is yourself to finish up, do the write up, and your supervisor or the editor can help you to edit your work. That's one is really your lonely journey. But throughout that, no. Feel free to ask anybody, even your friends, your supervisor, it must, okay, because your supervisor know you better, okay, inside out, what you are going to do. And then you can ask, even the journal that you read, you can ask the journal, the authors of that journal. Okay, you can ask, I did that too. And another one, my advice, when you pursue your journey, try to write and send to the quite good platform of the conference paper, because their feedback, you will surprise. Based on my experience also, I feel like, what? Can I finish my PhD or not? It seems like everything goes wrong. Okay, it's not because everything goes wrong. It's because of we did not read enough. So their feedback can help you to open your mind wider. Because when you read a lot, you've been drowning with the information, you might think that, oh, you know more. Actually, no. Because we are saturated with our own information. Sometimes we have to release the information to others to give us feedback. Then you can move on even faster. So that is through my experiences. Okay. So I think that'll be all. I'm the one who do the talking almost 2 hours. Okay. I wish you all the best. So if you want to ask anything, so feel free to send me email or WhatsApp. I try my best with my limited knowledge to help you out. All right. Okay. So thank you very much everyone for joining the today's session. InsyaAllah we'll meet again. I lupa nak tukar tarikh ni kan, hari 17 Mei 2023. Okay, thank you everyone for joining today. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you, Doctor.
Okay.
Okay, Doctor.
Alright. Just WhatsApp saya saja, okay? Sebab saya tak tanya nama pun ni tadi semua.
Right,
Immaculate.
Doctor.
Alright.
Alright. Okay. Assalamualaikum everyone.